Hi there, you lovely people. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to quickly talk about something that I picked up that could be used to save a lot of you guys a lot of headaches. Um, Based on the community forums and stuff for the Tronxy printers, especially the XY2-Pro, which we have, well, I have two of them here. There appears to be an issue that a lot of people are getting, and essentially what happens is the printer lays down the first initial couple of layers, maybe 2-3 layers, and the printer just reboots, essentially powers down and repowers back on again, and the printer head, the hot end, doesn't home at all. It just stays in situ. And I've seen this also happen mid-print as well. It doesn't just occur on the first couple of layers, but I think most people see it happening at that point. Now, this issue has plagued me for a little while now, especially on this particular one here in front of me. This one didn't have so much of an issue. Now, we tried obviously a lot of different methods to resolve this, and the usual advice is to reflash the firmware in case there's some sort of firmware corruption, or also if you're not using the standard SD card that came with it, or perhaps the SD card itself has been somehow corrupted. But again, I did try those things. I reflashed the firmware on this a bunch of times, the latest version of the firmware. As you can see here, I'm not using the standard SD card, I'm using an extension, but however I did revert back to the original SD card, the sort of mini SD cards, to see if that would solve things, but unfortunately it didn't. It still had this intermittent power down issue. Now, I have a photon resin printer here, and this has never had any issues, but recently this also had the same weird thing where it would just shut off mid-print, almost like it was crashing. And it's got me thinking, perhaps it isn't actually an issue with the printer or the printers themselves. Perhaps this is a power supply issue. Now, as you can see back here, I recently upgraded my extension cable to be one of these server ones, which are a lot more sort of higher rated. They have higher tolerance, better surge control, and all of that jazz. Because obviously, when you've got a server in front of a power supply, you need to make sure that it's something solid. I was using previously this one over here, this Surge Master one, but yeah, it's quite old now. It's probably had its day, and it made me think maybe as these printers are drawing different kind of levels of power. There's kind of peaks and troughs, right? As it's printing. So as the heating element is heating up, it draws more power as the stepper motors are moving. And if there was a circumstance where, say, both stepper motors are working and it happens to be going through a heat cycle where it's drawing more power at exactly the same time, perhaps that's causing some kind of fluctuation or power surge where the power demand is a bit higher, and then perhaps the surge control on this, I guess, cheaper extension is triggering, and that little blip in power outage is what's causing the whole thing to shut off and reboot. So as I say, I invested in this extension cable, and I have now all three printers running off essentially the same cable, and I haven't had a crash yet. It's remained stable. I mean, it's still early days yet, because obviously these two prints here haven't finished, but they have been running for a good 3-4 hours now. And usually when it crashes, we would see that happen by now. So I just thought I wanted to post this up, because I think this is worth looking at. If you're running your Tronxy XY2 off a power extension cable, and you're having the same issues, try maybe plugging it directly into a main power supply, or perhaps even do as I did here, if you're unable to do that, where you invest in a more solid solution for your extension cable. These are pretty cheap, to be fair. I think I bought this one, it's an 8-way one off Amazon for about 20 quid, I guess, somewhere in that region. You can find cheaper, you can find ones with less sockets and stuff, and but it's worth a shot, I think. But anyway, take care guys, and yeah, see you in the next one.